Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video we'll be talking about how the Washington Commanders have a offensive line issue. We'll be going over the game tape, going over whose fault it is on the sacks, whether it's, the offensive linemen, running backs, or if it's on Sam Howe. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, that notification bell as well. Close to 12,000 subscribers, please help me get there. Also check out BetUS and Mojo, links in the description. And before people in the comments go ahead and say, oh, Sam Howe holds on to the ball too long. Yes, I totally understand that, and that is a huge issue. That is probably, if not his biggest flaw, it's definitely up there, with those other flaws. But also at the same time, the offensive line isn't doing him any favors, because if he was playing behind a really good offensive line, like let's say like the Chiefs or the Philadelphia Eagles, he would have much more time, and a lot of these issues that he's having wouldn't be that bad because he would be throwing with a clean pocket. But let's look at some of the stats. So Sam Howe is the most sacked QB in the NFL so far this season with 19. He's been sacked over 6 times a game. That is absolutely insane. 19. The second highest is 13, and that's Justin Fields and Ryan Tannehill. That is absolutely insane, and usually, it just it's a 6 sack difference within 3 weeks of the season. I don't even know what to say. And again, some of those sacks are on Sam Howe, and some of those are on the offensive line. I would say in the Bills game, I think like 5 sacks. I think they counted, at least PFF counted. You got to take PFF with a grain of salt, because I think they gave Wiley like a 68, 69 PFF grade, which is pretty good. So I do not agree with that at all. But they kind of counted 5 sacks that were on the offensive line and 4 that were on Howe. And I didn't watch back everything, but I would kind of agree with that in terms of, okay, about half the sacks were on Howe. And yeah, this is just crazy. And, part of this, again, Justin Fields is known to hold on to the ball too long. So that's why he's second, because, their offensive line isn't great and he holds on to the ball too long. And that's the same thing with Sam Howe. You look at, let's see, I'm just pulling this up here. So this is kind of how PFF graded, Grant Paulson tweeted this out. So Charles Leno, I guess, allowed 0 pressures, 0 sacks, 0 QB hits, and 0 hurries. I didn't think he had as bad of a game as some people thought he did, but I didn't necessarily see that. And then Sadiq Charles allowed 2 sacks, a QB hurry, 3 pressures, did not have a good game. Nick Gates also didn't have a good game, 4 pressures, 2 sacks, QB hit in a hurry. And then Sam Cosby didn't have a good game as well. And Andrew Wiley had a not great game. They still had him, allowing a sack. That 1 sack, he got beat like a drum. And yeah, Sam Howe got sacked right away. I'm trying to see. There was some clips I have of some of the sacks right here, or some of the pressures, so that you guys can see. But yeah, it's partly Howe taking too long, and sometimes he'll avoid the sack, but then right after that he'll try to make a play, and it'll end up being a sack because he didn't want to just throw it away. And that's kind of something that he needs to work on. And Rivera, man, he did nothing really to address this offensive line. I guess he did. He brought in Nick Gates and Andrew Wiley, but I thought when they signed Nick Gates, it was an overpay. And I didn't hate the move, but I wasn't like, we needed to do that. And then Andrew Wiley, I didn't really like the move. They paid $8-9 million for him at right tackle. When they signed him, I was like, still not in love with it, but I was okay with it because I thought they were going to put him at guard, where he was, solid at, but they played him at tackle, where he allowed like 9 sacks last year. So for me, I was already not happy about that. And then when like Isaac Seumalo from the Eagles, who was a Pro Bowler, got signed, I think, by the Steelers for like $8 million or $7 million a year, I was like, man, why did we sign Wiley? And then also in the draft, I guess we did draft Ricky Stromberg, but that was a late 3rd round pick. That was basically a 4th round pick because there's a comp pick from Sheriff. And we draft Quan Martin II. He could, very well be a very good player in the future, but right now we need offensive line, play. We need better offensive line play to protect Sam Howe. And we could have drafted, an Osiris Torrance or some of these other guys in the 2nd round, or even like someone like DeJuan Jones in the later rounds instead of, Braden Daniels, who's out for the year, which, basically, I think he tore his rotator cuff, but it just, I don't know. I don't think Ron Rivera did enough to address this offensive line, and it was something that needed to be addressed because you have a 5th round quarterback who is basically a rookie. Also, Sam Howell was a guy that coming out of college, one of his weaknesses was that he did take a lot of sacks. So you knew you had to protect him with a good offensive line. And what did Ron Rivera do this offseason? He went out there and signed Andrew Wiley and Nick Gates when there were a lot of other guys available. There weren't a ton of great tackle options, but again, they could have kept Cosmi at right tackle, which I think he's would have been good. Last year, he played a couple games and wasn't great and then got hurt, so we really never got to see how good he was at tackle, but the year before he was pretty good. And then you could have signed a guard or drafted someone. They really could have drafted someone in the 2nd, 3rd round. At this point, you really can't do anything. But even in the middle of the offseason, there were guys like Dalton Reisner and other guys that were still available that they could have gone after. And right now, Sam Cosmi has probably been their best performing player. And then after that, you got a bunch of question marks. Sadiq Charles has been up and down, had a good 2nd game. The other 2 games were kind of rough. Nick Gates hasn't been amazing. He hasn't been awful. I mean, this game he wasn't good, but he's been, Wiley, I think, has been pretty bad overall. And then Charles Leno, he's been, I don't know, he hasn't been great, but he hasn't been as bad as Wiley, in my opinion. So, your offensive line is not good. And then combine that with Sam Howell just holding onto the ball too much and not being great under pressure. It's just not a good combination at all. And real quick, a word from our sponsor before you go over some of the film. And a huge shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this video. BetUS is a leading online sports betting company. They've got so many different sports you can choose to bet on. You got NFL, you got baseball, you got hockey, soccer, golf, tennis, anything you want, they've got. And the NFL season is underway. And tough loss yesterday for the Commanders. Hopefully you didn't bet on the Commanders to win or cover. But today there's a couple games going on. You got the Eagles and the Buccaneers. The Eagles are 5.5-point favorites. Hopefully the Buccaneers clutch up and win. And the Rams are playing the Bengals, and the Bengals are 3-point favorites as well. If you use my link in the description, you get an 125% first time deposit match. So if you put in 100, you'll get $250 to use to bet on these different games. So yeah, man, shout out to BetUS and bet responsibly. Okay, and I do want to go over some of this film, and I'm not sure how the format's going to work. It might get cut off a little bit. I guess I'll try to full screen, but again, it might get cut off like this portion right here, and the quality is always bad on Twitter, but we'll see some of how the offensive line played. And some of these you'll see that they'll allow pressure, but it's after 2.5, 3 seconds. And at that point, you just expect the quarterback to have thrown it or gotten out of the pocket. So, you see this first play right here. Sam Howell has, not a ton of time, but these guys are doing their job, and is that Nick Gates or Sam Cosmi? I think Sam Cosmi gets beat a little bit, but he's able to make the throw. That, again, it wasn't a great performance by the offensive line on that play, but Sam Howell had enough time there. He had enough time to make a throw. So you would like Sam Cosmi to do a little bit better there, and that's why the PFF grades are a little bit misleading. They said he didn't have a single pressure allowed. I don't know. That's kind of iffy right there. And then this play, I think at that point, Sam Howell has enough time. He does get sacked, but at that point, you should get rid of the ball. Let's go back to it. At this point, you've had a decent amount of time. Right there, you got to get rid of it. He doesn't. He gets sacked. I'm not putting that one on the offensive line. And then here, you got whatever this play design was, not really on the offensive line. And I don't know if that's on Sam Howell, if he read the play wrong, if that's how it was designed. Yeah, I really don't know what's happening here. But yeah, Sam Howell goes, and I think that was a design run play for him, and he had the option to hand it off to Gibson. You guys see another play here. This play just open run, unblock guys. Let's see. I'm gonna play it back. It is a little bit quick, but you see right here, it's got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys rushing, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys blocking. So you should be able to do the job. But you got Gibson who gets this guy right here, but then this guy comes in and just gets Howe. So not great protection there. And then this one, B-Rob could have done a little bit better job there. He just got that sack right there is not on the offensive line, and not on Howe either. That's on B-Rob. You got to do a better job in there than that. He barely touched the guy. He barely touched the guy. And I think this is the play where Jahan was wide open on the left side, which is unfortunate. Might have been a different play here. Just no one blocked on that left side. I want to play that back. Let's see. Yeah, just no one blocked. I don't know, like, someone messed up the communication here because you got Leno. I don't think this is on Leno because Leno has this guy right here. And again, I'm not a film expert or anything, so you guys can teach me if you want. But you got Leno right here who is engaging with this guy. This guy right here might be Rousseau, just unblocked, and then Sam Cosmi is not blocking anyone, and he, I think, eventually comes back around and tries to get that guy, but that's not his responsibility. So someone messed up there, and that was an interception. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great throw by Howe at all. Is this the one to Gibson? Yeah, that's the one to Gibson. So someone messed up there. Let's go back to where it starts and see. I think Sadiq and Nick Gates ended up blocking the same guy. So that's probably on Sadiq. I don't know. Just miscommunication there. Can't have an unblocked rusher. And then it leads to an interception. And that's when the game really started to turn around. That sack 100% on Wiley just got beat like, or not sack. Sorry, let's see. I thought that's the one he got sacked on, but yeah, Andrew Wiley did not play as well as PFF showed. So there he gets beat and doesn't get sacked, but he got hit right away, and that's a big hit. That's a big hit, and ended up being a 2-yard completion, but still, Andrew Wiley is terrible. It's just not good. And then you see right there, I mean, they gave Sam Cosmi an 80 PFF grade. He might have played well, and these aren't all the plays, and they're still halfway through this clip right here, but I don't know. He's been getting beat a ton, and I guess he just lost his balance there. So it is what it is. There, Jahan Dotson finally gets a reception here. The pocket is, I don't know. It's really tough sometimes to tell whose fault is it. Is it Jahan's or not Jahan's fault? Is it the offensive line's fault? Is it the quarterback's fault? Is it someone else's fault, like the running back Leno? Trying to get that guy there, and it ends up being Wiley, and yeah, it ends up being Wiley's guy there. It ends up being Wiley's guy, and it's an interception. So, yeah, and then there, Sam Howell tries to step up in the pocket and does what he can to avoid the sack. Wiley gets beat like a drum there. I mean, yeah, what we can conclude from this is Wiley's terrible, and the rest, some of the film experts can tell me. Again, some of those sacks are on Howell, some of those are on the offensive line, and then one of those was on Brian Robinson. But yeah, that's kind of it for today's video. Just want to go over some of these things for you guys, and yeah, appreciate it, and peace.